consent that the quorum call be suspended.
Without objection.
Well, Mr. President, the junior senator from Connecticut certainly believes in saying the quiet part out loud. This is what he said, and I quote, "I think there will be some pretty substantial damage done to a Democrat brand that has been rehabilitated if on the heels of an election in which the people told us to keep fighting, we immediately stop fighting." He said that on a podcast yesterday. He went on to say that the 2026 election is just 12 months away. And if we surrender without having gotten anything, and we cause a lot of folks in this country who had started to believe in the Democrat Party to retreat again, I worry that it will be hard to sort of get them back up off the mat in time for next fall's election cycle, end quote. Let me repeat that, Mr. President. This is what he said. "I worry that it will be hard to sort of get them back up off the mat in time for next fall's election cycle," end quote. I'll let that sink in for a minute, Mr. President. I don't think it's a secret to anybody that the Democrats shut down the government for political reasons. There's been plenty of news coverage of the incredible pressure that their far-left base has been exerting. But in case anyone was still under the impression that Democrats were driving this shutdown toward its 40th day out of concern for the American people, well, the junior Democrat from Connecticut pretty handily dispelled that notion. Again, that's what he said. "I worry that it'll be hard to sort of get them back off the mat in time for next fall's election cycle," end quote. And just in case anyone needed any additional testimony, Axios reported on Wednesday, and I quote, "A set of post-election talking points circulated among Democratic congressional offices warned caving without concessions would sap Democrats' momentum and undercut the party's support from its base. Democrats throwing Republicans a rope in exchange for nothing would be political self-sabotage," it added. Political self-sabotage, Mr. President. Now, there are two very striking things about these quotes. One, of course, is the focus not on the American people, but on how to ensure Democrats win the next election. And two is the fact that progressive Democrats apparently want to keep this shutdown going forever. We're on day 38 of Democrat shutdown. Day 38. Federal workers have gone more than a month now without pay. They don't know how they're going to pay their mortgage or buy food, thanks to Democrats. A lot of them are supposed to get another paycheck today. Instead, they'll see a deposit of exactly $0 in their bank account. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Head Start preschools have closed. Veterans programs have shuttered. Many Medicare recipients can't get access to telehealth. National Guard troops aren't training. SNAP benefits are in profound jeopardy. There are people going hungry right now because Democrats refuse to agree to a clean, nonpartisan funding extension. And of course, then there's air travel. Because of staffing shortages caused by Democrat shutdown, the Department of Transportation had to issue a mandatory reduction in air travel beginning today. Hundreds of thousands of people will be affected every day, to say nothing of disruptions to the movement of packages and goods. But nothing seems to move Democrats. Nothing. Not hungry Americans. Not massive disruptions to our economy. Nothing. Mr. President, if I were a Democrat, I would be embarrassed. I mean, flat out embarrassed to walk into this building every day, to walk past the men and women of the Capitol Police who are not getting paid thanks to Democrats. To walk past junior staffers, many of whom are undoubtedly frantic by this point as they wonder how they're going to pay their rent and continue to buy food. How can Democrats look any of these people in the eyes? And please don't tell me they're fighting for some greater good for the American people. If Democrats can be said to be fighting for anyone at all besides themselves, they are fighting for a fraction of a fraction, for a tiny percentage of the small percentage of Americans who are on Obamacare. The number of people they're supposedly fighting for is dwarfed, and I say dwarfed, Mr. President, by the number of people whose lives and livelihoods they are damaging. And as for the claim that Democrats got some kind of mandate from the American people on Tuesday to continue jeopardizing food stamps for 40 million Americans in need, give me a break. Democrats performed well in 3 states where Democrats often perform well. Congratulations. I really don't think that means that the American people have all signed up to be Democratic socialists. And it sure as heck doesn't provide a good reason for making 40 million Americans go hungry. Mr. President, I would like to think that the junior senator from Connecticut doesn't represent all Senate Democrats. But if there are Senate Democrats out there who do still care about hardworking Americans and not just Democrats' election prospects, the time to act is now. Not when the far left decides this exercise can be over. Not when federal workers are lining up at food banks for their Thanksgiving meal. Now. Today. I hope, Mr. President, there are at least 5 more Democrats out there with a backbone who will vote with us to reopen the government and end these weeks of misery for the American people. Mr. President, I yield the floor, and I suggest the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Ossobrooks.